Now that we have our model finished, we need to bake it down so that we can start unwrapping it for UVs. So we'll just go down the stack and kind of collapse things, make everything editable. And for most of this, I'll just be middle clicking and doing this connect objects and delete. Now for the arms, we have this symmetry. So the left and right are mirrored. So we're going to hit C to make that editable. And then now, each of these contains both the left and the right sides. And we're going to keep animation on this pretty simple, so that's okay. But I think what we can do is maybe combine all these pieces together and then just have the thruster as a separate piece. And for now, for the legs, I'm just going to combine everything just so it's a single object. If we want to rig this and animate it more, we can pretty easily break it apart later. So now all these pieces are pretty clean. Everything is just polygonal now. We don't have any symmetry, any deformers. So all these polygons are just straight up. So now we can go and unwrap all these and then pack them together. So in Cinema 4D, there's this really nice UV edit mode. And it used to be pretty awful, but they've added a lot of functionality in the last couple of releases. So for a lot of these, I'm just going to try doing the automatic UVs and then fixing anything that just looks terrible. And for this one, it doesn't have any UVs, so we can just set UVW from projection here. And we can just do flat because we'll change all this. And let's try automatic packed. Okay, so that broke it into a ton of different pieces. That's not great. So let's go to projection, do a frontal. And for some reason, it didn't grab everything. So I'm going to hit Control A with the faces selected. Do frontal again. That way we just get exactly what we see here. Now, let's make sure there's no edges over here, or faces. Okay, now you can see these are open. Now either over here I can double click, or over here I can double click, and it selects across. And now I'm going to UV unwrap this. Okay, that looks much better. It's all one piece, and it looks like it contours very similarly to how the actual model is. So I think I'll call that good, and I'll just keep moving down. This one will select everything, do frontal projection, and looks like we need to make sure this is selected and this, or at least none of these tags can be selected, or if it is, it has to be the one you're working on. Now that frontal just got a clean UV of that, and now we can just go and select this back edge. And let's make sure there's no polygons down on the bottom. Looks like there is, so we can just go to the front view and delete those. So now let's just grab this back edge and then unwrap that. And that looks good. We'll do the same for this antenna. Make sure there's no polygons down here. It definitely is. Delete those. Swing around the back. Grab that edge. Unwrap that. Now for this antenna, I actually paused the recording for a little bit and experimented. And even though all of these UVs are terrible, if we have the correct edge selected here, so let's just grab this back edge and let's make sure there's no bottom. Okay, let's delete these faces real quick. Go back to edge mode. And with this back edge selected, these lines, it's showing just the edges of these UVs. So if I just click UV unwrap, we don't have to do a flat projection first. We can just unwrap it. Now, well, it looks like that kind of worked, but these two are separate. So let me just try frontal and then unwrap again. Okay, so that solved it. It looks like if there are edges that are already broken up, it might not weld them automatically. So this is still a good workflow. Now for the body, we'll do kind of the same workflow for all of this. Frontal projection. And right now we have a lot of inside stuff going on. So let's see if we can delete some faces first. I'll isolate this. And I think we can get rid of most of these long faces in here. And we actually, I think, don't want any of this either, because this is what we were seeing inside of that side cutout. So I'm going to hit UF and just select those extra pieces. Delete those. And this is nice because we're not going to see any of those polygons, so we don't need them in the model taking up space. Now I'll select the bottom half and just do the same for the polygon selection. Now to fix this mess, maybe we just select all these edges. So up here we can do the lasso selection. Just drag those out. And paint away whatever you don't want deleted. And then do the same over here. And I think the hotkey for this is 9. I always use 0 for this guy, but 9 is... Wait, 9 is the paint. 8 is the lasso. Now just to fill these in, just switch back to standard view and just kind of rough this out. Using the polygon pen tool, and I'll just drag these edges over. All right, we're back in business. That looks good, and that looks good. So switching back over to the UV edit mode, going back to the top half, unhide that, and we'll start with flat projection or frontal. And it kind of looks cool over here, like a little schematic. And a lot of these are kind of connected. Let's just see if we can relax this and see what happens. Okay, well that's not going to work. Let's do a little bit of cutting in here then. In the edge mode, we'll grab this edge loop. Okay, grab this edge. I'm going to isolate this again. So we'll separate these solar panels. And edge is shared by more than 2 polygons. So we have some bad geometry somewhere in here. To find that, let's go back to standard view. And then go to mode, modeling, mesh checking, turn that on. And over here we can see we have some non-manifold polygons. Let's hide all the other stuff just so we can see what's going on. Okay, they're in here somewhere. Looks like it was formed in the beveling process. So with these selected, I'm just going to hit delete. Looks like they're still there. Okay, now we have 0 non-manifold edges. Bad polygons is 0. Hopefully that fixes the issue. And this is still going to show the modeling tool. So we'll go back to model and turn off mesh checking. Now let's see if we can have these edges selected again. It looks like we lost those edges. Okay, those are selected. Let's see if we can unwrap this. Cool. So these two got unwrapped, and this actually got flattened out pretty nicely. Looks like the front we've got some issues, so let's break this off. Double click there to grab that whole edge. Unwrap that. Okay, it's getting better and better. Now this whole front area, it looks like around here there's some problems, which makes sense. This is all bunched up. Let's grab this inside edge. Oh, it's a little messy right here. Just gonna shift select those. Shift select these. Hopefully that goes all the way across. And it looks like that helped. I'm just going to select all these and UV pack these with geometric selected just to see if these will move apart. Okay, so these are still connected. So we can see these white lines where the cuts are already made. Oh man, it's kind of messy right here. I'm just going to grab the polygon pen tool and just do a little bit more cleanup just to get rid of all this extra junk. Let's see if that helps all this. So all the faces selected, let's see if we can pack these. Same thing. Let's try relaxing them too. So it seems like it's just attached over here somehow. Oh, maybe not. I guess it was kind of sticking together. Now when I use geometric packing, it looks like all these pieces get separated nicely. And we can weld these two edges back together. Use UV weld. And then with this selected, we can just relax this whole thing. And that'll kind of fix that back again. And up here, we can turn on the UV map texture. And that'll show us this UV map grid. So we can look for stretching or any weird polygons. And it actually looks pretty good right now. I'll turn that off. We can also turn on distortion. So it'll show in the red and the blue where things are kind of squished or too stretched out. And it looks like the size of these is more the issue than the actual stretching. So let's equalize island size and see if that helps. There we go. Now it made this smaller and this bigger, so the stretching and the pinching is fixed there. And that looks pretty good for this one. Let's just keep moving on. Oh, it's so ugly. Okay, let's isolate this. And we'll do frontal projection. And then see if we can just UV unwrap without any edges selected. Okay, that works kind of well, actually. Now from here, we can see some nice edges that might be able to split apart. So this is this hard edge here. Actually, it'd be better if we get this edge in here, because it's a little bit more hidden. And while we're at it, we can grab this edge. And we have some pulls here, so it's not a full edge loop, so we have to manually select that. Yeah, we can just do it up here too. Oh. Okay. So let's unwrap that. And this is this rubber foam thing going around, and it's pinching really strong on those ends. So we can just divide this into a couple different pieces. And hopefully that'll straighten all this out too. So unwrap that. Now those pieces are really nice. And here, these are where the feet are, I believe, the little feet holes. And I'm not too worried about inside there, so I'll leave those. But it looks like this area is the problem. Which makes sense, it dips way in there. So hopefully we can just grab this whole edge loop. More or less. And then we'll do the same over here. Okay. Now those two are isolated, which is these little cubbies. Unwrap that. And those are pretty stretched or squished on the inside, but that's fine because those are going to be pretty deep in there. So if anything, we do want them to be a little squished. And we have some issues along here. It's not too bad, but maybe let's split this down, at least the back. So now this is all straightened out, and it looks like most of that stretching is resolved just by removing that and making it flat instead of a circle. So that's looking pretty good there. This battery pack's going to be pretty simple. Let's do frontal, unwrap. Ooh, undo that. I had all the edges selected there, so it unwrapped with everything selected. That's pretty good. I think I can cut out this piece here and see if I can do it the smart way. There you go. Now that's selected all that because I held Shift while selecting the edges. So that converted the faces to edges. Now we can unwrap that. And this should be disconnected. Okay, well, I'll just manually disconnect it, I guess. And now let's relax this. Oh, that's not good. That started overlapping there. I'm going to undo that. And it's getting a little bunched up here. I'm just going to split this here too, just to make it easy. All right, now those pieces look good. Now this is a really simple piece. This should be easy. Frontal. Actually, let's see what cubic automatic does. Not great. This one also the same. Okay, so let's do frontal again. Unwrap. Oof, that was bad. I think let's remove this bottom face first, because we're not going to see that. Now, hopefully that unwraps better now. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Onto the lens. Hopefully this will be one smooth fit. So we'll go frontal. And it grabbed some extra stuff there. Let's try that again. Okay, there we go. And with no edges selected, let's unwrap. And that's pretty good. It's a little pinched in the middle. So I'm going to break out the middle part of this lens. Unwrap that. Now that looks better. This, for some reason, got a little distorted. Let's see if we can relax all of this. Let's try this other mode. Yeah, that's a little stretch there. Maybe let's just make it straight. Unwrap that. Now for the arms, we have a lot of little components going on. Do frontal projection. Make sure everything's selected with the faces. And let's see, how should we do this? I mean, these back edges are pretty nice, straight along. And then these pistons, I'll just grab those back edges. And same with this. So that's one of them. And this part looks like it's still attached on the end here. So let's just, we can actually delete these faces because they're not going to be in use. And let's do that on this other side too. Now let's see if we can just unwrap that. Okay, looks like that solved that issue. Oh, unless this is the same thing. So the issue is in here, and I think we still have this face. Just zoom out, we can see this face here we're never going to use. So I'm going to select that with U in for Phong selection mode. Just see if we can delete some of these extra inside faces. Okay, now it's a little cleaned up. And now for the caps here, I'll just separate these as well. That helped out there. And these are still super pinched. Let's just see if we can go and grab this outer edge. Oops. Unwrap that. Oh yeah, that's much better. I guess I should just select multiple of these. All right, so that looks good. Now I just need to do the same on the other side. Probably should have unwrapped these before I baked symmetry down, but it's all right. Sometimes you've got to do a little bit of duplicated work. That looks pretty good. Let's see what happens. All right, not bad. Let's just do the same thing with these. It's like a puzzle or well, Where's Waldo, where you're just trying to find everything in these tiny little images. All right, that should be all. Cool. It looks like everything is accounted for. Let's just do a quick UV pack to organize those and move to the thrusters. So these will be pretty simple. Let's zoom out, select all the faces and do frontal. And then we can probably just select a couple edge loops and call it a day. I'll grab this one and this back edge. And then pretty much the same on this one. Unwrap that, and boom. Good enough. And now for the legs. Select all the faces. Do frontal. And because these are so small and they're kind of on the bottom, I might just try doing automatic packed and see what happens. So this definitely breaks apart everything a little bit more than I would, but I don't feel like going and manually cutting all these edges. So this will work. So now what we can do is actually select everything. And you can see it's all overlapping now. So first, we could relax, but let's just try to pack all these together and see if it all fits. All right, it did something, but it didn't work at all. I'll make sure all the faces are selected. That might have been the issue. All right, so now it should have packed all the UVs from all these objects into one UV tile. So now when we go to texture this, everything will have its own space. So we only need one image texture to cover the whole robot. Honestly, I'm not sure why all this space is wasted. We could manually tweak it, but I guess for now, this will be fine. We're losing a little bit of texture space here, but I'm not about to troubleshoot this all day, so this will work. So now let's turn on this UV map again. And let's see, looks like it doesn't show up unless you have a single object selected. So that's a bummer. I guess if we just select this all, we can connect and delete these. And then temporarily you can see all these grids here. And there's going to be a little bit of distortion, but overall it looks pretty decent. So I'll undo that just so we keep all these objects intact. And that's it. Now we're fully unwrapped. And that's a wrap.